beginning a series on the grounding for the metaphysics of morals, wherein I intend to go through the text with more detail than I have up to this point on this channel, but nothing too dramatically detailed. In this video, I will hope to just say a few things about the preface to the grounding for metaphysics of morals, or the metaphysics of morals. We're here using the Ellington translation published by Hackett. Now, I couldn't explain the preface in less than, I think, 1 hour if I were going to do it properly, and I doubt very much whether I am even capable of explaining it properly. However, I will make a few observations, and it's safe to begin with the first paragraph. Kant says, "Ancient Greek philosophy was divided into 3 sciences, physics, ethics, and logic. This division is perfectly suitable to the nature of the subject. The only improvement that can be made in it is perhaps only to supply its principle, so that there will be a possibility on the one hand of ensuring its completeness and on the other of correctly determining its necessary subdivisions." Okay, so ancient philosophy, and up to the present, ancient philosophy in the Greeks divided philosophy into 3 branches: logic, ethics, and physics. And this division is perfectly suitable to the nature of philosophy, and Kant is... well, he's keeping it, but he's going to go into detail on what it all means. Let's clarify a couple of things first, though. Physics, that doesn't sound like the name of a branch of philosophy, does it? That sounds like the name of a branch of the sciences. Well, first of all, the word science in English and its corresponding translations in Latin and German is a word that used to just mean something like a field of study or a branch of knowledge. Meanwhile, what we now call science has gone by other names, like natural philosophy or physics. So when he says physics here, think of him as referring to the study of what exists, the study of what there is in the world. And this actually has 2 sub-branches. One of them is actually what we now call science, and the other is what we would call metaphysics. But the terminology can get very confusing. And the division of philosophy into 3 branches, physics, ethics, and logic, we would now want to say is a division of philosophy into 3 branches: logic, ethics, and the study of what is, which has for its subdivisions, its sub-branches, philosophical metaphysics, and then sciences, including what we now think of as a mere branch of one of the sciences, physics. Okay, so what Kant is going to do is going to detail on what are these branches of philosophy, and now I'll have to switch back to using just his language: physics, ethics, logic. What are these branches of philosophy, and what's their nature, and what's the point of this book? And I cannot explain this stuff properly, at least not without more time, but probably not at all. Let me make a couple simple observations. Logic, he says, is not concerned with any object, any content. In other words, logic is concerned with the rules for thinking, not with anything we're thinking about. Now, physics is concerned with a description of the laws of nature, or what there is in the world. And don't think laws of nature means what we now call science. Laws of nature includes a lot of study of what we now think of as metaphysics, and the study of, in fact, the human mind, and how the world as we know it is shaped by the mind. Lots of serious hardcore metaphysics and epistemology stuff here, and it doesn't all correspond to science or physics, even if he uses a phrase like laws of nature, which makes us think of physics and contemporary science. All right, so logic is not concerned with any content, just with the rules for thinking. Physics is concerned with laws of nature, and ethics is concerned with laws of freedom, that is to say, what there should be. But physics and ethics both have their own subdivision, one empirical branch and one a priori branch. And that means one branch, the empirical one, where we learn from experience, and one a priori branch, where all we need to do is study the study that which we can figure out independently of experience. Now, the a priori branch of physics, that's the sort of stuff Kant is going to be talking about in his famous or infamous book, The Critique of Pure Reason. What about a metaphysics of ethics or metaphysics of morals, the a priori branch of ethics. That's the sort of thing we're interested in here. But I think within the metaphysics of morals, in fact, I think actually within the metaphysics of physics, the a priori metaphysics of nature, the a priori branch of physics, and within the metaphysics of morals, the a priori branch of ethics, we have another subdivision between the foundational stuff and the stuff built on the foundation. I think the critique of pure reason is actually the foundation of the metaphysics of nature, and then the groundwork for metaphysics of morals is the foundation for the metaphysics of morals. And at this point, if you're not following me, that's okay. I'm not entirely sure of this stuff myself. Let it suffice to say that the metaphysics of morals is the subject of this book and another book. At least that's how I'm understanding it. This book and another book are concerned with the metaphysics of morals. I'm still perhaps oversimplifying a lot. I'm not even going to talk about the critique of practical reason, as if I could. The metaphysics of morals is that branch of philosophy where we study content, not just rules for thinking like logic does, and where we study laws of freedom or rules for how we should live, what we should do, not just a description of what there is in the world, but how we should live in the world. And it's considering things a priori, that is to say, we're not learning from experience how human beings act, how human beings behave, how human beings are constructed so that we can use that information to do a better job achieving, I think to some extent, human happiness, but also achieving a better alignment of human behavior with morality. You know, study psychology so you can learn how human beings work, so that you can learn how to make sure that you, and to whatever extent other people are under your influence, other people live morally. That's empirical ethics. But a priori ethics is interested in the nature of morality as such, the nature of moral law, and what is the content of moral law. Now, I'm terribly concerned that with all of that commentary, you have no idea what I just said. So let's try it one more time more briefly. What is the metaphysics of morals? Metaphysics of morals is a branch of philosophy where, unlike logic, we're concerned with some actual content, not just rules for thinking, but things we're thinking about. And specifically, we're thinking about laws of freedom or rules for how we should live. And specifically, we're doing this a priori, not empirically, which is to say we're not learning from experience. We're sort of just sitting and thinking about what is the nature of morality. Now, there are two branches or two steps to the study of the nature of morality. One is the metaphysics of morals proper, which Kant will write in another book called the Metaphysics of Morals that doesn't have those extra words in the title, not grounding for or groundwork for or foundations for a metaphysics of morals, just the Metaphysics of Morals. That's an actual book. It's longer. I find it much more difficult to read than this one. I haven't even finished reading it because I'm a total loser. But the first step to a metaphysics of morals is studying the foundations of the metaphysics of morals. That's what this book is about. And at this point, I think maybe I should just stop and we go to the beginning of the book, the first section of the book in the next video. But before we do, maybe one more sentence worth of information, or maybe two. Why is Kant interested in the foundations of the structure of morality? Why doesn't he just talk about what should we do? How should we live? Why doesn't he just go straight to that? Well, he will get straight to that, even in this very book. But the point I want to make here is Kant thinks that if we are going to know what is the right thing to do in any situation, what is the right way to behave, while it can be very useful to have a good list of what moral rules tell us, it's also very useful to understand the very structure of moral rules, because moral rules have a pattern, a structure, a form, a repeated arrangement. There is a universal structure to all moral rules, and that's what he's going to study here. He thinks understanding the universal structure of moral rules will do a whole lot to help us know how to behave morally. Sorry if I said I was going to aim for one more sentence. That was clearly more than one. If you've watched the whole darn video, please let me know in comments. I'd be curious to hear how many have done that. Thank you for watching.